Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome into another episode of the Eighth and Grace podcast. I don't even know if I will be able to stop smiling the entire time that we are having this interview. I have the pleasure today of interviewing my mother. And this is so amazing because it's going to be like a tribute to Mother's Day, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I initially was here in Nashville, and I want to honor the original reason that I was here. I am wearing my Luke 12:27 hat today for my precious baby, Lily Ann. I came into Nashville to interview her mom, Lauren, and talk about the miraculous birth and life of Lily and her legacy and the story that her life has told, and just all of the lives that she has touched. And recently, prior to me getting here into Nashville, Lily Ann passed away at 9 months old. And though we are sad on this side of heaven, she is spending her first Easter in the precious arms of Jesus.
Yes.
And so I can only imagine how beautiful that is. But I wanted to honor her and just ask all of our friends to pray and cover her mom, Lauren, and her dad, Wilson, and keep them in our prayers, and to just pray that peace flood them like a river.
Absolutely.
But I still wanted to wear her hat today and honor her. But yesterday, I had a very cool meeting, and as I was talking to her and telling her the story about being here and having this initial interview, and told her that I wasn't able to interview Lauren, and I said, but my mom stepped up and stepped in, and she said something so cool. And she said, Brandy, I believe that was God's purpose. This was his plan all along. And that just really hit different. Like, it made me think about perspective, you know,
Right.
and how much perspective shifts and can shift a whole atmosphere,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
But that made me think. So today, as we are talking, I think that will truly be a leg on which we stand. And we'll just talk about different perspectives of life and our story and wherever God leads us to talk.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that I'm thankful to be here. This has been years in the making.
Aw.
And I'm going to try not to cry because there's tears, there's joy, there's everything. And anything Brandy and I can talk about, obviously we've lived together. However, perspective. I have my perspective of the events and what happened and how it impacted me. And Brandy has her perspective
Right.
of what impacted her and what that time meant to her and what it meant to me.
Yeah.
So, Brandy, what you didn't tell them is, why were you in Franklin yesterday?
I met with a book agent yesterday. I met with a literary
Thank you,
agent
Jesus.
yesterday, and I'm in the process of pitching my book to an agent and praying that God just takes that and we are going to champion the story that he has put in my heart. And I'm excited. I'm super excited, but I don't want to get my hopes up yet. But I'll tell you that we met at the factory in Franklin, and that's what I was just telling Mom on the way here. If you haven't been to the factory in Franklin, I haven't been there. Like, I couldn't even tell you. I think my kids were little the
never
last
been.
time I went to the factory in Franklin, and it was so cool. Like,
Yeah.
we'll have to go there together the next time I'm home. Also, if y'all see me like looking down, Mom and I stopped and got some coffee on the way here, and I have coffee on my dress as a paid actor this morning. So
Yes.
I'm thankful
Yes.
for the grace space that we're in, and I'm thankful for messy faith and everything messy in the middle, because I truly am like a living testimony of walking in the messy middle of life, I would say. I also wanted to tell you guys a little about my mom. For those who don't know Nancy Cottrell, she is the president of a automotive firm, correct?
Yes, automotive supplier.
Automotive supplier, and she is 4'11" of a little powerhouse. My little brother and sister, and they call her Mighty Mouse. And so we enjoy talking about how little she is, but how powerful she is. But before there was Nancy Cottrell, who was the president of an automotive supplier, there was a Nancy Cottrell that was a very different story. And that's what I'm so excited to tell our friends about today, that we come alongside people in life at different places in their story, and we get to see you where you are now, right?
That's right.
And this story is completely different than where you started. So I would just kind of like to tell our friends a little about you and who was Nancy? Who was Nancy before Nancy today?
Well, I'm going to start with this story like I do. The local high schools will bring students in to tour the plant, to talk to us, and I'm always the last to be introduced. And when I'm introduced as the president of the company. And so I look at them and I say to them, yes, I am the president of this company, but I was also the 15-year-old pregnant that dropped out of school.
Yeah.
That finished the 9th grade and dropped out of school.
Yeah, girl, I made you a mama real early.
Absolutely. And so I tell the story of how I was broken.
Yeah.
And I don't go into as much detail with them as I go into here. But I will tell you, I was 15 years old. It was the summer between my freshman and sophomore year at Lebanon High School, Lebanon, Tennessee.
And once a blue devil, always a blue devil.
Absolutely. And my mom was taking me to the health department that used to be in front of the old Lebanon High School and to get my shots because they had come out with more shots that you had to get before I could return to school.
I thought you was going to say birth control because I
No.
might have went to that local health department to get some birth control. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know.
So I'm sitting there with my mom, and I know this secret that my mom does not know. And they handed us a pamphlet, and I'm reading the pamphlet, and the pamphlet says that you can't have this shot if you're pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
And I started crying, and I said, Mama, I have to tell you, I think I'm pregnant. That just tore my little mama's heart. See, I told you it's hard to talk about things and not get teary.
Cry, girl.
But that just tore my little mama's heart apart. And we walked out of the building. My first cousin was working for Dr. Prier, and Mama took me to Dr. Prier's to get a pregnancy test, and lo and behold, it was positive. So I immediately knew that I contacted my husband, or my boyfriend at the time, and said, I'm pregnant. We're getting married. So I decided for him, right?
Honey, we're going to the chapel.
We're going to the chapel.
We are going to get married.
We are going to the chapel. And that's exactly what happened. And he was living in Gallatin. I was living in Lebanon, and I was too ashamed. I was too ashamed to stay in my own town. I was too ashamed to share what should have been a joy. I was just shamed. I was just shamed. I was a straight A student. I hung out with the A crowd. I always did what was right. So I was too ashamed. I did not go back to my hometown except to drive to my mom's for about 4 years.
Yeah.
So with that said, actually it was 3. It was 3 years. And so with that said, we were so broke and we were so poor. And we moved in with my sister and his brother were married. So now
We are from Tennessee.
we are. So with that said, the house, I won't ever forget it. And I was so thankful that they did. But the house, I could literally see through the walls. Literally, I could see through a crack. And there was this big mansion that it was like, I swear to you, it looked like something back in the old days where that was like a farm keeper's place that they lived. And the people with the money were in the big brick house. And this is on 25 going from Gallatin to Hartsville.
To Hartsville, yeah.
On the left, a big brick house, red brick with white columns, and I could see that house. And I cried. I cried every day for 6 months, to the point that my husband looked at me and told my mom, I'm bringing her back to you. I'm bringing her back to you because all she does is cry and she's miserable. So from that day, at 15 years old.
That's not fair, though. Do you think it was you were miserable just about the house and stuff? I mean, your hormones were raging, too. You're 15 years old, and your hormones are, like, out of whack.
I have to be honest. I just felt like I had destroyed my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure it felt like a mistake.
I felt that I had destroyed my life. I had let people down like my mom that loved me and had such high hopes for what I would be or what I would do.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like a failure.
Yeah, I get that.
And so I didn't go back to mom.
Yeah.
And fast forward, basically, the Lord gave me my best friend. It's it make me want to cry. And was my best friend through all those years. So, with that said, I don't go into that much detail with the high school kids, but my point is perspective.
Yeah.
My perspective was failure. Mm-hmm. My perspective was shame.
But God had a different plan.
Yeah. And what I didn't know at the time is He made me a fixer. Yeah. So when I looked through that crack and I saw this big brick house, I was like, I'm going to have that someday.
Yeah.
I'm going to have that someday for my kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my life. And so with that perspective, I went to work. I had a beautiful baby girl, Brandy Dawson. I went to work. I had Brandy at 16 years old. I was fortunate enough to have a job, and I was always the one never taking a vacation day. We needed the money. I would sell my vacation time back. I'm trying to live life. I had $25 to go to the store and buy groceries, and you would be crying for something at the counter, and I
remember like being at Mosier's grocery store, and you would pinch me. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody else's mom would like this little fat piece under your arm. Like, I don't know if anybody else's mom would pinch them under that little fat piece and grit their teeth when they were talking. And I don't remember if I wanted a slapstick or what I wanted, but I can tell you right now, you only get pinched under your arm so many times, and you should stop asking for something every time you go to the store. I don't know. Maybe I didn't, but...
So with all that said, I didn't realize that the Lord had made me a fixer.
Yeah.
And so today I volunteered to be on the board of a local charity in Smith County.
Yeah.
The Emmanuel House. Uh-huh. And the Emmanuel House women, and Lord, please bless and continue to bless the Emmanuel House for the good works that they do and the hard work that the people contribute to that facility. Mm-hmm. And
the women that
it's
are
changing lives.
Yeah.
It is absolutely changing lives. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I could be a difference in their lives.
You could make a difference.
That I could make a difference. That I could share my story, and I have. Mm-hmm. I have shared my story, with the women of the house in great detail. Mm-hmm. And I was raised in a very poor family. Didn't realize we were poor. Mm-hmm. Had no clue that we were poor. Mm-hmm. But my dad drove a concrete truck his entire life, made minimum wage. Mm-hmm. My mom worked in a boot factory, making minimum wage. There was 4 of us. We always had food and we always had love. And it took me getting older to realize. I guess I didn't realize it until I got in junior high. And I think that's when you really start to notice what other people have that you don't have.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so my perspective.
Kids can be mean.
Yes. And I wore glasses. Let me say, that's a very important piece of my story is that I was born with my daddy's eyes. Mm-hmm. And at 18 months old, they told my mom, you'll either make her wear her glasses or she'll be in the Tennessee School for the Blind.
Just like Hattie, our Hattie
And
Grace, has
they-
been wearing glasses since she was 18 months. Yeah.
Absolutely. They were Coke bottles.
Yeah.
And I cannot be clear enough about that, about the thickness of those glasses. They exaggerated my eyes about
They make your eyes look bigger.
about 3 to 4 times bigger than what they were. And so I was always self-conscious of them.
Those beautiful eyes, they're big. They're good to see you with.
Yep, I was always self-conscious of them. And kids are cruel.
Yeah.
So there would always be who's the prettiest girls in the class and all this kind of stuff. Well, I can tell you right now, Nancy Cottrell never got the prettiest girl in the class or never even come in the top number, right? So I grew up with that, and it was after I got married and it was after I got a job that I discovered contacts, and that made all the difference in the world for my confidence. So, like I say, I just want to say to everyone that's listening, I'm still in the messy middle, and yes, I could tell you every detail of my story. Well, how did you get from 15 and pregnant to the president?
From the boot factory.
Yeah. First actual real job.
Yeah.
I could tell you a few others, but we don't have time to go into all my details, but they're very interesting. But
like working in tobacco field, that's very interesting.
Thank you.
Spiking tobacco when you have a little girl in tow, that's very interesting.
Being totally pregnant and due almost any day and stripping that tobacco in the tobacco barns of Gallatin and then going to the Gallatin redryer.
So see, when I smoked cigarettes when I was a teenager and you got mad at me, I mean, look, I just came right from the tobacco field.
Honey, let me tell you a story. I walked up on her. She was down. That was their Thursday night, downtown
What is
Nashville.
it, Summer Lights or Summer Nights? That just ages me. That tells how old I am.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm walking down through there, and lo and behold, she's got that hip cocked and that cigarette in her mouth, and I just politely walked up, stomped it out.
You did that.
I did that.
Right in the middle. I mean, what
Took
are the,
it out of
what
her
are the
mouth.
odds, though, that your mom is going to walk up on you in the middle of Summer Lights? Was it Summer Lights or Summer Nights?
Whatever it was, if we were
But
there.
it was downtown.
Yes.
Yes, and she
And
did.
it was
just
busy.
walked up, like, it felt like something out of a scene from Grease or something.
Yeah.
Just walked up and picked my cigarette, like, out of my mouth and
Yes,
stepped on it.
and
I
people were
won't-
like, well.
I won't say that I was rebellious
And she
Put
told
another
me
one in
later
my
in life, she goes, Mom, after you walked away, I just got another one.
Yeah, we will. I wasn't going to tell that part. I'm not going to tell that part. So you said you quit school as a freshman.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So did you ever go back to school? Like what?
Well, that's a good way for you to lead in since you know the story.
Right.
But yes, I have a master's degree.
Okay.
And
graduated with that master's the same year I graduated with my high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Diploma.
It took me 17 years. At that time, they didn't have these accelerated classes that they had today.
Yeah.
So I worked a full-time job and most of the time 2 jobs.
Yeah.
And went to school at night for 17 years. And so I had dedication.
Yeah.
And I had commitment.
Yeah.
And I was determined that I was going to do better and change my legacy, or it's not really your what would be the right word, Brandy? That I didn't want you. I wanted to show you.
That would be the legacy that you left. Absolutely.
That I wanted to show Brandy that it doesn't matter where you come from. And this is why I joined the Emmanuel House. I don't care where you come from.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
My dad raised me. He had a 6th grade education, and my mom had a 9th. And I am the true definition how I was raised, and this was brought to my attention. I am the true definition of white trash.
Well, I was going to say, here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down.
Thank
But
you.
now you was a little fancy Nancy, but you didn't do the, like you didn't do the fancy. You didn't have to wear the dress and stuff.
No, but I will be honest with you. Like my grandmother I disappointed my mother, and my mother disappointed my grandmother. She eloped with my dad, and my dad was from the other side of the tracks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you look at it this way, like we had a generational legacy, all right, of your mom was a teenage mom.
Yes.
You were a teenage mom.
Yes.
I barely missed being a teenage mom, but then the next generation, both of my daughters were teenage moms. And so, most families pass down heirlooms, and we were passing down a generational situation that could be hurt and pain, that could be broken, right?
Right.
But God knows what he's doing, and he knows how to make something beautiful out of what doesn't feel so beautiful. And truly, I believe that it has been a redemptive grace story. And I couldn't imagine now, with my daughters being the age they are and having my grandbabies. I mean, I have 5 grandbabies, and I could not imagine life being any different. But just like you were at the health department with your mom getting shots. I mean, think about it. I had Cora at the doctor with Dr. Vivian, and here we are. And I'm thinking that Cora's got something going on with her thyroid. She's tired, and I'm a nurse practitioner.
Right.
I mean, I'm a nurse practitioner, and I'm like totally missing the boat here with these girls, and she's tired all the time and is gaining weight. So I'm taking her to the doctor, and then Emma is having some issues like joint pain, and we're thinking that, we're having her tested that day for juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes.
So I'm at the doctor at the pediatrician's office, and Cora's in there crying to her doctor about gaining weight, and her doctor comes in there, and she's a little Spitfire Latino and puts her hand on her hip, and she's like, Cora, the last thing you need to be worried about is gaining weight. You're pregnant. And then, Emma's like looking like this, and then she turns around and like snaps her neck at Emma, and she's like, I don't know what you're laughing at, because it was almost you. Your test looked positive too, but I don't think it was. And I'm standing there, y'all, my blood sugar dropped, almost fell out in there, and they brought me Smarties in there. So here I am at the doctor's office, the pediatrician of all places, with my 2 kids, and find out they're going to be a teen mom. So I mean, it's literally
both of them pregnant at the same time. You got to finish the story. So they're pregnant at the same time.
They also had the babies an hour and 48 minutes apart at the same hospital.
Side by side rooms.
Same doctor. And so we're like running back and forth, and that's our precious Lucy Jade and Hadley Grace, and they're 6 years old. And like I said, everybody at that time, I was going to church, I was leading Bible study, I was very active in the Christian community, and there were so many nasty things that were said about me and my family, to the point that I would look at people and I knew what they were thinking, and I'd be like, yeah, we only wear shoes when we go to church, and no, we don't believe in birth control. I mean, my kids had been on birth control. I knew, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
But, and everybody has their own opinion about that too, and that's fine wherever you fall in that, because it's all about perspective, right? But the path that my girls were going down and where they could have ended up, and this is exactly what I told you when I was so broken about finding out they were pregnant, because just like you felt like you were ruining your life, I'm watching my daughter stand there and cry to me like, Mom, I can't do this. I mean, she was a straight A student. Like, Cora had so much potential, because, we didn't know Emma was pregnant yet. Remember? We didn't find out for 2 weeks later. And so exactly the things you were saying, my daughter is saying. And I'm standing there and I'm having to console her and be strong for her when I'm broken, thinking probably the same things that she is. But it was literally in an instant. She was so shamed and didn't know what she was going to do. And it was literally like I heard the Lord tell me, even though that baby was created in iniquity, as was I, born into that, a sinful situation, the baby was a blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
She was a product of grace. All babies come from heaven, right? Like, God knew what he was doing. And, to find out later that the path that my girls could have went down, having a baby was not the worst thing that could have happened for them.
Absolutely.
But I think anything we go through in life, I truly do. Like, you can allow those things to continue to keep you in bondage and allow you to feel like a prisoner in captivity when things aren't going the way that you planned in life, or if you make decisions that are different than you thought you would have. But then you have the opportunity to not allow that to be a crutch, but the perspective of, I can rise above this.
Yes.
And there can be beauty that comes from these ashes, right?
Yes.
And, I never want anyone to feel like, I believe that a child is ever a problem.
Right.
Or that God ever giving us the blessing of a miracle of birth or
Right.
life is a problem.
Right.
Because it's not.
Exactly.
It's never a problem.
Exactly. And so my dad, and that's where I was going, is my dad always, raised us. You make your bed, you lay in it.
You lay in it.
And they put their pants on like you do.
Yeah.
And so those are two things my dad would always say that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And so as I was working, I would hold my hand up. I was the first one they'd call on because Nancy will do it, right? Nancy will do it.
Yeah.
Call on Nancy. She loves overtime.
She needs the money.
She needs the money.
Yeah.
Nancy will do it. Well, that gains you recognition by being a doer.
Yeah, you're a go-getter. She's a real go-getter.
And
they didn't know we just needed the money for our lights to be on, right?
Well, that's a whole nother story. They're in these chapters, and I won't ever forget this, and I want to say this, and I hope this resonates with everyone out there. Wherever you are in your book, because you're writing your own book.
God's always writing our story.
And wherever you are in your chapter, on your page, if you're not happy with what that page and what the script is saying, God gave you the ability to change it.
That's right.
And when you are uncomfortable, and I've spent my life being uncomfortable, that's when you know that you're doing what God wants you to do. And so you have to be uncomfortable.
Well, you know
and
that
you
feeling
have,
like this is what it looks like when God says to move.
You
when you
have
truly
to look
get
at
that
for another
uncomfortable
perspective.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
right. You have to change your perspective.
Yeah.
Of where you're at today, how to bloom where you're planted.
Right.
All the cliches are so true.
Yeah.
They're not cliches.
No.
So that's one thing that as I started to get jobs, and it also brought recognition of when a job would come open that I was the first one thought of.
Yeah.
Well, granted, I quit high school, had a 9th grade education. Yes, she's a good worker. They can take the girl out of the South, but they sure can't take the South out of the girl. I tell people, you can give me a master's degree, I still can't talk. Okay,
Right.
That's just how. It
I have a
goes.
master's degree, and I still can't do math.
Well,
my math just don't math. But,
I'm just saying.
right.
So he came to me. The director of the facility came to me, and he said, "There's a job coming open. I know you can do it. It'd be good for you. It'd be good for you move you up, but you have to have a GED."
Now, where was this?
That was at Texas Boot in the distribution center in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Okay.
And he said, "You have to get your GED." My boss at the time, Greg Culpepper.
Yeah, I remember Greg.
Greg Culpepper. I bought a book. Greg tutored me to help me get my GED.
Isn't it amazing the people that God puts in your life that at the time you would have never even thought that God literally handpicks these people to walk alongside life with us?
That is exactly true. And so Greg Culpepper tutored me, and the time came. And at that time, I live in Lebanon, Tennessee, really never been to Nashville, except Mom took me to Vanderbilt. I went to Milam's Optical outside of Vanderbilt at the time to get my glasses. And so that's when I got when I got to go to Nashville, is to go get my glasses, because I had to go to a specialist my whole life. So Hume Fogg High School on Broad, that's where I had to go get my GED.
Were you scared?
Girl,
if you've never driven to Nashville.
Well, I drive to Nashville. That wasn't as scary as when I parked the car and I'm poor and broke and didn't have a dime or a penny to my name, and you had to pay for parking.
Mom.
And I was sitting there crying like a baby.
What did you do?
In my car. A man pulled up in a very nice car, and he was in a suit, and he saw this young girl crying in the car beside him, and he knocked on my window, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I just started bawling and told him that I'm there to get my GED. I don't have the money to pay to park. I don't know what I'm going to do. He said, "I'm going to pay for your parking, and you're going to pass that GED." And I thank you, Lord, for sending me that angel.
Jesus, yes. That is so amazing.
Yep.
And you rocked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that started a path.
Yeah.
And Brandy will tell you, I'm like a little bulldog. Give me a problem, and the Lord, I just pray that He give me the words to say,
Yeah.
the actions to do, because He made me a vessel as a fixer. But we all know I can't fix anything.
Yeah.
I can't fix anything. That's also one of the biggest lessons I had to learn.
You're still learning that. I love you.
And it breaks my heart when I can't fix something because I will lose sleepless nights. I treat everything like it's my kid or that life depends on it.
Yeah, everything.
And that's just how I was
Well,
wired.
anybody that knows you, that knows if they have a problem and they need somebody to go to bat with them. So, like, if any of my friends listening ever need somebody to go to bat with them. But now, if you don't want somebody that's going to, I mean, like, she's not going to quit. Like, she will not quit till it's over. So if you want somebody that might give up, like, midway, I wouldn't count on you. But, yeah.
And that's just so true. That's just how God wired me.
Yeah.
So I woke up this morning and I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about the day and I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this with Brandy and this is 46 years in the making. And what's the theme? And God gave me the word, perspective. And I said, a lot of times I'll call Brandy and I'll say, I'm thinking this, or this was on my mind, or I woke up at 3 hours into sleep and this was what was on my mind. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, Mom. So I said to Brandy, I called her on my way. We were meeting this morning. And I said, Brandy, what word has come to you? What word has come to your spirit for today? And you said,
Yeah.
perspective.
Perspective. Yeah.
And I'm like, we are usually in sync.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So we are parallel, like mother, like daughter.
Right.
So I just want to speak to everyone's perspective, where they're at. I don't care if it's pregnant at 15, a divorce. I don't care. I could name a million different things.
All the holes in our shirt.
I say that all the time. And we must have done a really good act.
I was going to say, we must have acted really well. I was literally thinking, because I know the story that you're fixing to tell. We talked about it at dinner last night.
Yes, we did.
But so we were just talking about when you worked at the boot factory at Texas Boot, but then after there you went to Wynn's Precision.
Yes.
And do you know the story that came to my mind the other day? And I don't know who sent you or who gave you, you'll know what I'm talking about, but to the Daughters of Charity.
Yes.
Like you had to have, were you doing
Edna
like
Parker.
an interview? There was something that you needed an outfit for.
Well, that was because as I was moving through my career, there were different times in my career that I would get a promotion.
Yeah.
And I had gotten a promotion to be in
it was
the sales department.
something, yeah.
Yeah, I had gotten a promotion to be in the sales department. And my boss calls me in her office and says, not word for word, but basically said, you do not dress the part. You're going to have to change how you dress. And I left there crying. And the reason I left there crying is because I was broke, poor, just doing
Did
good.
she know that or no?
No.
I mean, she didn't know that what you were wearing to work was the best what you had.
No.
You didn't have anything any better.
And she also didn't know that was twice in my life that I had been called out for not having the clothes that other people have. The first time I was in literally the 4th grade at Carroll School in Lebanon, Tennessee, the old white Carroll School. And if I didn't get E's and on my report card for every single thing,
What was the E?
N's
'Cause
and
that was an
S's.
S. You said E.
Whatever the best grade
Yeah,
is.
that's an S, girl. You was getting a satisfactory.
No, excellent. E's are excellent.
I don't know that I ever got no excellent.
I think it was N's, S's, and E's. Needs improvement,
I think
satisfactory,
Ian was a need
and
improvement.
E.
But listen, I'm gonna roll with it because
Well,
if
I
you was
can
getting the
tell you-
E's, you was excellent, honey. I'm just gonna tell you, girl over here never got no E.
Whatever
I
it
remember no E.
was, girl, if I didn't get it, I was
We're going with
heartbroken.
excellent, honey.
Heartbroken. It was like a competition.
Okay.
And I get my report card, and I had an N for dress.
Why was dress on your report card?
I don't remember exactly what the actual thing on there was, but I got an N for my appearance.
Well, honey, that's
it might
a
have been
shame that
appearance. I can't remember the exact word.
That ain't even on you. That's on your parents, though. You know what I mean?
Well,
if you think about it, like in 4th grade, you couldn't help what you look like. So I don't think that. I'm going to just rebuke that. Like I'm going to just, if there was on your report card, it don't
you
need to be on
think
your
you were going to rebuke it. Honey, don't you dare say something about one of her kids. Or, honey, my mama, I went home crying.
I know she's who I got it from.
I went home crying. My mama, it was on.
Honey, like a pot of neck bone, honey. You can do a lot of things to me in this life, and a lot of things have been done and said to me in this life, and that's fine. But when you do something or say something about my children, and listen, honey, I might be in a conversation with you talking about my own children, but the first time you form your lips to open your mouth to say something about one of my babies,
Exactly.
you talk about my chickens, and let me tell you, these talons is coming out. Like it is for real.
Well, so it brought back PSD.
PTSD, yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah.
And so I go out of her office crying, and Edna is like asking me what's wrong. And Edna Parker, if anyone knows Edna Parker, Watertown, Tennessee, Edna Parker,
It was like a saint.
100%.
Yes, on earth, yeah.
She was God put her in my path because I needed her so badly at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And for years there to go. You know what I'm saying? And I will forever and always love her and cherish her. And she is like a second mom to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so God gives us angels and God sends us help. We just have to be open, willing, and use what's been said, even when it's negative.
Even when it hurts. That's what I
Even
was
when
going
it
to say.
hurts.
Because I think so many times in our life, like people will say something to you, and she truly didn't mean that. I know her, and I know her heart, and I know
It
that
wasn't
she
Edna
didn't
that
mean
said
that.
it. No, Edna was the one. It was Edna's boss.
Oh, okay. But I'm just saying, even when somebody says something to us like that, sometimes it's not even exactly what they say in the moment. It's what it brings up in us
Right,
that has
right.
happened in
That's
our
my
life from
point.
before.
That's
and
my
we're
point.
seeing through the lens of perspective of that hurt and that
That's
pain.
my point.
And it triggers so much. And then in that moment, it brings back all of the grief and the fear and the shame and the
Yes.
doubt. And the enemy just tries, the enemy of our soul just point blank anyway tries to keep us to where our face is covered in shame, you know?
That is so true. And so Edna basically said at that point, Nancy, there's a place in Nashville, and it's still there today for anyone that needs to
The
hear
Daughters
this.
of Charity, yeah.
The ladies.
Oh, Ladies
Ladies
of
of
Charity.
Charity.
Okay.
And it's just off of Church Street in downtown Nashville. And it's only open in the spring and the fall. But if anyone is needing it, they have everything from designer to non-designer. And it's a wonderful place. It's a charity. And you can buy what you need to make that next step.
So see, now that makes me think, so you went to Daughters of Charity and you had this nice, some nice pieces of clothing.
Ladies of Charity.
And then now that brings you into the story to where later all these years in life when somebody told you what their perspective of me was in school.
Yes.
And it's so funny that she had no idea to have anything nice. Like your clothes were coming from the Ladies of Charity.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Because I definitely didn't have a silver spoon of any kind.
Well, and so that brings us to this next story. But I was also raised that you keep your crazy at home.
Yeah, you did teach me that. Which on this podcast, we are teaching that your crazy doesn't have to stay in the closet. Like we want your crazy to come out. We want us to deal with our emotions.
I still say this to this day, and everyone at my company will tell you this. We have crazy. We do at work. We have crazy. We have crazy every day. But you keep that crazy in the house and you protect that customer and you do not let it out that door. And I'm adamant about that. And I have high expectations on myself and everyone that works there, So that you have to rise above and you have to be the best you can be.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what you're doing. But we had a young lady that Brandy went to high school with. And we were in the cafeteria one day, and she was in there. She wasn't sitting at my table. I was talking to a couple other girls. And somehow the conversation went to holes in our T-shirt. And me and one of my friends, and I believe it was Vanessa Williams. And I were talking, and which I love. I mean, like a sister from another mother. But we were talking, and we were sharing the holes in our T-shirt and how many we have alike, all the way being able to, girl, we can break it down like a square dance. Show me the stage.
Yeah. Speaking of, I won't ask you to buck dance or anything.
Well,
today.
I'm just saying, so it was just like, we're just laughing and we're cutting up. And somewhere in the conversation, I told the story about how Brandy was in high school and Charles was living. We had Charles. I brought on another son, my nephew, and it's the three of us. And Brandy would call me, and I was telling this story at work, and Brandy would call me, and she'd say, "Mom, the lights are turned out. Mom, I'm using so-and-so's phone because our phone's turned off. Mom, we don't have any water. Mom, the cable's not working."
I don't know how many times I said somebody must have hit a telephone pole or somebody
That's
told
what
it,
I was going to say.
Yeah.
And I even told him that. I said, Brandy every time would be like, "Mom is going to go off because this keeps happening." And so she,
Pretty creative.
yes. And this young girl that went to school with Brandy, her mouth fell open, and from across the break room, she goes, "Miss Nancy," and I'm like, "What?" And she said, "I never knew that. I thought Brandy Moss had a silver spoon in her mouth. That's everybody did." And so I just looked at her and I said, "Well, there's the rest of the story," and she did a good acting job.
Yeah. But in my book, I talk about that we are safe to take the mask off, that we don't have to put on this masquerade in life because the things that we harbor only continue to hurt us, and we're safe. But I say, I probably could have won a Tony Award for the best actress in a play in my life. There have been so many times where I just played house or faked happy, right? Because I thought I needed to present myself to how everybody else needed to see me.
That's right.
And I have always done that, and to save face. And we don't have to do that. I mean, we are safe to be exactly who we were created to be. And you never know who, I just literally said this the other day, Mom, that to continue, to keep going, even when we don't see the fruit, even if we can't count the fruit yet, you never know who else you're feeding.
That's right.
Right?
That's
you
right.
You never know who else is watching, even in the hardest parts of your story, and that they're being able to hold on to like this wild hope and this wild expectancy that everything's going to be okay because they see you walking through and you're making it, right?
Right.
You're making it.
Well, the story, like, how did you go? How, what path did you take? Because if people struggle, and you can come straight out of high school, you can come straight out of college, because spoiler alert, that marriage didn't last. 15 years to my first sweetheart, first guy that I ever even really kissed.
Well, God knew I was going to need two
other
moms
than
to
spin
keep
the
me.
bottle,
God knew I was going to need two moms to keep me straight. I think. Yeah.
So spoiler alert, that didn't last. Because God had another plan. Mm-hmm. And Brandy has a brother and sister that are at UT, and Cole's graduating May 16th.
Can you believe that? Like, that's coming like in a couple weeks.
I know, right? And they are amazing.
Yeah.
Casey is a junior. There's only 15 months between them. Mm-hmm. And they just love Knoxville, and they just love UT.
Cole and Casey?
That's another story, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening. I was 40 when I had Cole.
Yeah, I thought it was 40.
I was 40, almost 42, because 15 months apart when I had Casey.
You know what that makes me laugh, because you are a true definition. So like now that we've moved to Charleston and I'm having to get like a whole new, group of friends, and I'll meet friends at church, and I'll be like, welcome to your 40s, where your friends either have grown children or toddlers. And you are truly an example. But you were 40 and had a grown child and toddler. So you had both, but.
Well, people freak out because, ladies my age, they're just now, some of their kids are just now having kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want my grandkids. And I'm like, girl, I got 5 great grandbabies.
Yeah.
And people freak out. They're like,
so
how
funny.
old were you when you started?
That's always is that not your favorite question? Because when I'm like, oh, I have 5 grandbabies, and I'm just like excited, right, to tell the story.
Yes, me too,
And
because I don't care about age.
No, and I just want to start talking about my grandbabies.
That's right.
And then everybody's face is like,
That's exactly right.
and all they're thinking at that moment was, girl, how old are you? And so I'm like, honey, I'm 46. We start young where I come from. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
I do have an education. That's okay.
And, so it's just amazing. And those 2 kids are amazing, and what they're doing are amazing. Cole's dual degreed, accounting and finance, chancellor honors.
Speaking of that, and y'all are going to know what I'm talking about. There are 2 kind of smart people in this world. Okay, so we both have a master's degree, right? But think about this when I say it. There are 2 kind of smart people in this world. There are smart and there's math smart. And then math smart people, they are like a completely different beast. Like they are not the same. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's like his daddy.
Yeah,
he's like his
my
daddy.
math ain't mathin'.
Yeah.
And you look at me and you're like, kind of believing I may have a master's. Okay, you say you do, and I'm gonna go with it, right?
Yeah.
But you look at him and you're like, you got a degree, like you got it going on, because then people that's where like astronauts and stuff come from.
That's right.
You think about it?
That's right.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
And Casey's like me. Casey's also an
but
honor student.
She's real smart too.
And that's just what I was going to say.
Smart
it's
mouth.
because it's because she's like me. You're not going to tell her no.
Yeah.
And
Don't tell me
she's
no.
going to find a way.
Yeah.
She's like me. Cole, things come easy. He's just smart.
Yeah.
Casey, she's going to find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you right now, even us not so smart people, that you can find a way.
Absolutely.
And that you can achieve anything you want to achieve. And I'm still in the messy middle. Mm-hmm. I want to be clear that I have not made it to where I want to be. Mm-hmm. I'm still in the messy middle, and I'm like, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
And
Me
so,
too.
I pray that the Lord show me what's my next chapter look like. I always told Brandy, if I knew what I want, I'll find a way to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And the Lord's had me in waiting for a while. I've been telling you for a while that what is my next thing? Mm-hmm. What is my next thing? One thing I do know is I've reached out.
Maybe he's waiting on you to say, though, because you know what you just said?
Well, I will tell
That
you
you'll
this.
make it happen, because he's going to make it happen.
That's and that fixer in me thinks that I'm the one that's fixing it, and so I'm waiting. I'm praying and I'm waiting, and I see me being inspirational to anyone that's gotten themselves in a mess or just feels like they're stuck. Because I can tell you about stuck.
Right.
I have chapter after chapter, T-shirt after T-shirt with all the holes, and the Lord brings people into our lives, and Crystal Brown is one of them now, and it makes me want to get teary-eyed. We will cry together. Girl, we probably cry together today.
Oh, I'm sure when you get back and talk about all of this, you guys are going to cry.
Yeah, we'll probably, because she could hear my voice cracking, we'll probably cry together today. But I love hard. Mm-hmm. I love hard. I'm consistent. Mm-hmm. I'm very consistent with what I do and what I say. Mm-hmm. And if I tell someone something, I'm going to do it.
You can take that to the bank.
You can put that in the bank. Mm-hmm. And I pride myself on that. Mm-hmm. And I think your integrity and what God gave you as your building blocks is what pulls us through anything that life throws at us. And my little brother, please pray for my brother. He is in Midtown fighting for his life right now. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be just fine. I know he's going to be just fine. But I would appreciate any prayers that anyone could give for my brother.
And his name is Wayne. So if you would
Charles
like
Wayne.
to,
Some call him
by name.
Charlie, some call him Slick.
Yeah.
And if you grew up in the same house with him, you call him Wayne.
Right.
He must not like that because he grew up and everybody calls him Charlie.
Well, do you want to tell that story?
No, you go ahead.
Well, I don't know it. No, it's your story about if is that why you have a scar on your booty to this day? Is that because you said he didn't like Wayne and you're calling him Wayne. So
Well, that's he loves to tell stories, and a lot of the stories are on me because I was always if he got mad, I was the object of what to take it out on.
Object of his affection.
Yes. Yes. And so anyway, but he's been my go-to all my life. And even when I was married, I'll call my brother. Mm-hmm. If I've got a problem, I'll call my brother. I'm in Panama City, couldn't afford to go. The car breaks down. I'm beating Brandy with a house shoe on the side of the road, and I'll call my brother.
People still tell that story.
Today.
I've seen it.
Today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you really hit me with that.
I did. I was whooping her. She wouldn't mind.
With a house shoe, though. I think you're the reason that I will pick up. I don't abuse my children. They're grown anyway.
And you could tell I didn't hurt her, but she did.
But you're the reason I must pick up a flip-flop. Like, that is the first thing that I would look for would be a flip-flop. And it's your fault.
No, I think it's my mom's because honey, you were getting it. Whatever she could find, you are getting it.
Yeah.
I was a pincher. I really wasn't a flip-flop hitter.
Could still have like them fat nodules.
You can count on one hand how many times you ever got whipped and never by daddy.
Well, I ain't never even remembered no belt or no whipping, but I can remember a pinch under my little fat arm.
Well, I was a pincher.
Yeah, I can.
You needed to straighten up, crying, acting like you need something I ain't got money for.
Yeah. Girl, don't you know we can't do that? What's wrong with you?
We don't have that money for that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. We could tell stories all day, and like I said, I do hope that in the next chapter of my book that I am bringing hope and inspiration to anyone that feels like they need a hand up, because I think that's what the Lord intends for us to do. My book is not finished. My life is not done, but where I have been able to get to, if I can ever give a hand up, that's what I intend to do. And there are programs that I intend to reach out to just to be an inspiration to others, because you never know what word you're going to say that gives someone else the courage to take that next step.
One of the biggest things that I think is hope.
Yes.
And without hope, once you lose hope, you truly have lost everything. And I think that is truly because, the Bible calls Jesus our hope, right? Like,
yes.
We have this hope, and his name is Jesus. And so if you lose hope, you truly feel like it's all over and it's all ending. And you forget that God is still writing our story.
That's right.
That we are, our story is in the hand of a ready writer. He is still writing. And even when we have a fall, right, in our life, that's not the finale. Something greater can happen. And, I think one of the biggest things for hope is because the way your story in your life and the things that you have told today and that our friends have heard, the one thing that I kept hearing is that we can have one foot in the wilderness.
Yep.
And one foot in the promise. You
Absolutely.
never know when that other shoe is going to drop, but not in a bad way, right? Because when we hear the other shoe's going to drop, you're always thinking something bad's going to happen.
That's right.
And
That's
that is
right.
in perspective.
That's right.
But you never know when that corner is going to turn and when that foot from the wilderness is going to make it into the promise.
That's
and
right.
one word that you could speak could give somebody enough hope to make it and just to want to keep going until that foot from the wilderness makes it to the promise.
Girl, I can give them a roadmap. I can even do better than a word. I can give my roadmap, and I've even tested that in my head of how that roadmap would work for anyone, and it will. Mm-hmm. And so, like I say, I just hope to be an inspiration. I hope that someone sees something in me or hears something from me, that shines God's light and gives them the hope and the glory to just move. Mm-hmm. Just move. Mm-hmm. Move is the key.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, even now, when you talking about being in the messy middle, not about like with work, But the chapter in your life you're in now, like we've moved to Charleston. Cole and Casey live in Knoxville. And I mean,
And I don't like it.
yeah,
Oh, Lord. I don't like it.
yeah.
My whole life has, when I had 2 more at 40s because I wanted 2 more at 40s.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And I could not imagine not having, I needed the kids.
Could you imagine how different your life would have been if you would not have had me until you
Later.
were out? Yeah.
My friends thought I was crazy. My sister ran around town telling every relative or anybody that would listen, my sister's pregnant at
Yeah.
40. My sister's pregnant
Yeah.
at 42. And I was selfish. I'm just going to be honest with you. I was selfish. I wanted babies. I wanted Brandy's gone and started her life and got her kids, and I wanted babies. I need to replace you, not replace you. Replace
Yeah, I was
you.
fixing to say, listen, now you just said replace, and them 2 kids of yours.
You were out of the house, and I needed them. I needed in the house.
Right. Them 2 kids already try to say that they're the favorite. Now, they fight over who's the
That's
favorite.
all the time.
They fight over who's the favorite.
That's
and then
all the
she
time.
thinks she wants to say she's the favorite girl, but I was first. So I win every time because I was first. Regardless of who's favorite now, I was first. So I get to win saying that. So you can't say replace me because then they're going to think they've won. And that'll be like a whole, when y'all come back to visit in South Carolina, I'm going to have to be like,
And
honey,
there's
she
one
didn't mean
thing-
it like that. So I'm just going to go on a record and say she didn't mean it like that.
Well, there's one thing I want to say, and I wonder if anybody else experiences this. What is it about a mother and their kids that you tell them what to do and you try to raise them, but it flips and then they try to boss you and they try to tell you what to do? It happened with Brandy. And now it's happening with Cole and Casey.
But listen, baby, you got a little wild in the tail feather for a minute.
There's that, like I told them, there's a lot of chapters in this
I felt
book.
like I needed to reel you in. when
There's
you
a
was
lot
in
of
your
chapters
30s,
in this book.
right before you got married again and settled down. So I think it was like all of them wild oats that you didn't sow when you was younger kind of came out a little bit, and you just needed Mama to take you in and tell you can go on to come on home now. We ain't got nothing here but some tuna fish and some cereal with no milk, and we got some potatoes and no butter and some popcorn.
And couldn't wait for Charles to get home
my
from
God, you
Meacham's.
remember when he worked at Meacham's?
Oh, and bring us some bread and soup.
honey, let me tell you.
He was our hero with his
Or
bread
if I
and
was
soup.
having to call you and tell you that I had written a check from your checking account.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Because I was always going to wear some cute clothes.
I spent more time getting out of the negative than anybody I know.
But, I mean, you let me have it. It ain't like I stole it. I didn't steal
No,
it.
I didn't let her have it. She called and told me she did it. And then I had to
needed some
come up.
jeans.
That just put the checking account in the negative, and I had to figure out what the heck to do.
I needed some cute jeans like everybody else was wearing.
Well, just like the girl you went to school with said, they never knew you were broke.
Right?
So
No, honey, because I was going to be looking like something. I was going to look like something, all right.
yep.
Yeah. And that makes me think too, we were talking about it being Mother's Day coming up, and I'm so excited that we got to do this today and that you
Yes.
got to be on the podcast
Yes.
and that my friends got to hear a word from my mom, who has been such a ray of light for me and just always has reminded me that I can do anything.
You actually wrote a high school paper about your mom being the strongest person you
Girl,
knew.
you was my hero. I
Yep.
did. It was my senior paper. You had to write
Made
about
me
somebody
cry.
that had shaped your life. And and it just makes me think about Mother's Day coming up and just honoring our mothers. And just so grateful that we got to do this today. And I truly believe that the agent was right yesterday when she said, because I was so broken for Lauren and thinking about this today. And when you said you would step in, I was just so excited. I really didn't give you much of a choice, if we want to be honest. I told you had to come, but we won't go there.
And this could have went so many different places that it didn't go today because there's just we've had a very colorful.
And we've been doing so many road trips here lately for the
Yes.
podcast.
I'm a roadie.
Like Mom
I'm a
has been my
roadie.
roadie. So when we interviewed Cass, you went with me to Oklahoma. When we interviewed Elizabeth, you went with me to Texas.
Casey went with us to
Yeah,
Texas.
Casey
That
went with us to
wouldn't
Texas.
take
That was
anything
such a
for
fun
that trip.
No, that was one of the funnest girls trips. We're gonna have to do another one soon.
Yep.
But I think she was right when she said God knew what He was doing all along. because I'm thankful.
I
We've
see
been
us
talking
being
about
on a
this.
stage and helping women.
Honey, this is going to be a road show. You know, I keep saying that. This is going to be a road show. We're going to be able to start taking live
That's
questions
what we keep
soon.
saying.
But I'm so thankful for this. I'm just thankful that you did take the time and that you were vulnerable and were willing to share some of the parts of your story that people have never heard.
Yeah,
and
things
people
I
that
would
don't
have
know.
never told as I was going through it.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So.
And that's made my day. And I thought about all the ways that this could have gone and the things that we could have laughed about and the stories that we could have shared. And I'm thankful that I'm praying that somebody can hold on to what we've said today. And I wanted to ask you before we leave, one thing, we're at this amazing studio, LC Creative, this Lagos Creative Studio in Nashville. The show is brought to you guys from there today. If you're ever in Nashville and you need to rent a studio, this place is absolutely amazing. But I wanted to ask you before we finish, if you could go back to that 15-year-old girl or to the 20-year-old girl and tell her one thing to give her enough hope to make it to today, what would that be?
Take a step. Take one step.
Amen.
And believe in yourself. And I'm going to close this with something that I always say and that I've raised all you kids. God gave you your best asset.
Mm-hmm.
And your best asset is you.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is use it.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk about the roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
You're your best asset. Take one step. It'll lead to step 2. It'll start your roadmap even if you can't build it by yourself.
Yeah.
Move.
Just move.
Just move.
Yeah. And trust him.
And trust him.
Yeah. Just hold on. All right. This is great. I love you. I have to hug you before we're done.
I know, right?
I love you. I'm so thankful to you guys for listening. Until next time, love y'all. Bye.